I've always believed that love and work could coexist, that if you were organized enough, disciplined enough, you could have both. For most of my life, I tried to prove that. My name is Emma Hayes. I'm 30 years old and I'm getting married in 2 weeks. At least that's what everyone keeps saying. 3 months ago, I was offered the biggest opportunity of my career, a business trip across the country to lead a project that could define my future. It wasn't great timing. Oliver and I had just started planning the wedding and the invitations hadn't even been printed yet. But he smiled and said, "Go. You've worked too hard to say no now." So I went. Those 3 months were a blur of meetings, late nights, and hotel rooms that all smelled the same. In the beginning, Oliver and I talked every evening about our days, the wedding, and silly little things that made us feel close despite the miles between us. But as the weeks passed, something changed. Our calls grew shorter. His voice sounded distant. He said he was tired or busy with wedding preparations, and I believed him. I was exhausted too, buried in deadlines and endless presentations. I missed him deeply, but I told myself this was just what distance does to people who love each other. Now, I was back. My taxi pulled up to our quiet street, and I caught my first glimpse of home. The white walls, the blue shutters, the little porch where I had imagined Oliver waiting for me. But he wasn't there. The front door swung open before I could knock. "Emma!" Mom's voice was high, bright, almost too cheerful. She hugged me so tightly I could barely breathe. "Oh, sweetheart, you're finally home." Behind her, my sister Kylie leaned casually against the wall, arms crossed, a grin that never reached her eyes. Kylie is 29, a year younger than me, and we've never been close. I was always the responsible one, the one who got good grades, worked hard, and tried to make our parents proud. She didn't. Her life has never been stable. In her 20s, she left home for 2 years and no one really knows where she was. She bounced between jobs, relationships, and apartments. Even now, she doesn't work. Mom and Dad give her money, so she spends her days doing nothing, really. Growing up, I tried to support her, tried to smooth over her mistakes, but she's never seen it that way. She always thought I was the problem, that our parents loved me more, and that I looked down on her. And now, she's back, right in the middle of my wedding, acting like she's the one in charge. She smiles, gives orders, and expects everyone to follow. She pretends she's helping, but I can feel it. She loves this power over me. Oliver appeared from the kitchen holding a mug of coffee. "Hey, stranger," he said softly. "You're home." He crossed the room and kissed my cheek, quick, polite, distant. My stomach twisted. Where was the warmth I remembered? Where was the spark? The house smelled of flowers, but they weren't ours. Pale yellow roses filled the living room. I stopped mid-step. "These aren't the flowers we chose for the wedding," I said slowly, trying to hide the unease creeping in. "Oh, Kylie thought these fit better," Oliver said quickly, her hands fluttering. "Aren't they pretty?" Kylie grinned, brushing a strand of hair back. "You'll see the whole setup soon. You'll love it." I forced a smile. Maybe I was overthinking. I had been gone for months. Maybe I was too sensitive. But as I looked at Oliver, standing there with that polite, distant smile, the feeling in my chest only grew heavier. Something was wrong. Home should have felt safe. But it didn't. The next morning, I tried to shake off the unease. Maybe I had been gone too long. Maybe I was just tired from the flight. But as I walked through the house, little things started to stand out. The dress I had spent months choosing wasn't quite the same. It was mine, but changed. The neckline had been lowered, the lace replaced with something flashier, and the soft, classic silk I'd loved was now covered with glittering beads. It looked more like Kylie's taste than mine, bolder, louder, meant to be noticed. I ran my fingers over the fabric, trying to recognize the gown I'd once dreamed of wearing. It was beautiful, just not my kind of beautiful. In the living room, the flowers, those pale yellow roses, smelled faintly sweet, but they weren't mine. I'd chosen soft white lilies and blush peonies, delicate and calm. These roses reminded me of nothing good. My chest tightened. They were the same kind that covered the casket at my friend's funeral years ago. The one that changed the way I looked at loss. Kylie must have remembered that. Or maybe she didn't. It had been more than 10 years after all. And the decorations, the garlands, the table settings, the candles. Everything looked generic. Like someone had followed a Pinterest board without ever asking me what I wanted. I found Oliver in the kitchen scrolling on his phone. "Hey," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "The flowers, the dress, did Kylie choose these?" He looked up, eyes warm but distant. "Yeah, she said you'd love them. I trust her judgment." I blinked. I never told her that. "Come on, Em. You've been away for months. You should relax. Everything's fine." I laughed, a little too loudly. Maybe he was right. Maybe I was just overthinking. But the unease refused to leave. Every time I looked at Kylie, her calm, confident smile made something inside me tighten. She moved around the house as if it were hers, adjusting little things, leaving tiny marks of her presence everywhere. I tried to tell myself I was being paranoid. After all, nothing was broken. The wedding would happen. 2 weeks was plenty of time to fix minor details. Yet, as I sank into the sofa, I couldn't shake the feeling that I wasn't coming home to my wedding. I was walking into someone else's carefully arranged story, and for the first time in months, I felt powerless. By the second day back, it was impossible to ignore it. Kylie had completely inserted herself into the wedding planning, acting as if she were the bride and I were, just a guest in my own life. She strolled into my room while I was trying to sort out my dress, arms full of ribbon and tiny decorative trinkets. "Oh, Em," she said, dropping everything on the bed. "This isn't going to work. We need something bolder. Trust me, you'll love it once it's done." I froze. "Kylie, I chose this myself, months ago." She shrugged, casual and confident. "Yes, but I know what looks better. Don't worry. I've got it covered." I wanted to protest, to take back control, but I stopped myself. I was tired, jet-lagged, and, honestly, I wanted to believe she was just trying to help. I forced a small smile. "Thanks. I guess we'll see." But every time I looked around the house, I noticed more subtle changes she'd made. The flowers, the linens, even the way the chairs were arranged. It was all different from the plans Oliver and I had discussed. And Oliver, he barely noticed. He nodded along with everything Kylie suggested, sometimes even agreeing with her over me. "She has good taste," he said once, casually, when I pointed out that the table settings looked completely different from the ones we'd chosen together. The soft cream linens had been replaced with bold gold accents, striking, dramatic, and nothing like the quiet elegance I wanted. Good taste, not my taste, not our taste. I realized with a sinking feeling that I was no longer the one steering my own wedding. Kylie had taken the reins, and Oliver had handed them to her without a second thought. I wanted to be angry, to confront her, but I held back. I didn't want conflict. Not now, not before the wedding. So I nodded, smiled, and let her help. But inside, a little spark of unease was growing. This wasn't just about ribbons or flowers anymore. I could feel it. Something in Kylie's calm, confident smile wasn't just sisterly helpfulness. It was possession. And for the first time in weeks, I wasn't excited about my wedding. I was scared. That evening, after Kylie had vanished to finalize decorations and Oliver had disappeared into his laptop, Mom called me into the kitchen. The room smelled faintly of coffee and vanilla, but it didn't feel comforting. "Emma?" she began, her voice low, almost a whisper. "Can I ask you something?" "Of course," I said, leaning against the counter, trying to sound casual. Her hands twisted in front of her. She looked at me like she wanted to say something but couldn't. "Are you sure about marrying Oliver?" I blinked. "Sure?" My voice sharpened, caught between surprise and confusion. "Mom, you've always liked him. You've never said otherwise?" She swallowed, then shook her head quickly, as if trying to erase the question she had just asked. I want you to be happy, Em. I forced a laugh, trying to hide the sudden knot in my stomach. I am happy, really. Why would you ask me that now? Mom hesitated, then sighed, brushing a stray strand of hair behind her ear. Sometimes, when things change so quickly, you have to pause and think about the choices we make. I frowned. Choices? Mom, the wedding is 2 weeks away. Everything's almost ready. We'll figure it out. She nodded, still avoiding my gaze. Yes, of course. You always know best, don't you? I forced another smile and left the kitchen, but her words lingered. The way she had hesitated, the unspoken worry in her eyes, it felt like a shadow creeping across the room. For the first time since I returned, I realized I wasn't the only one uneasy. And if Mom was feeling this way, maybe there really was something I hadn't seen. Over the next few days, Oliver's warmth felt like it was slipping through my fingers, quietly, without a fight. It started with little things. When I reached for his hand, he held it for only a moment before letting go. When he smiled, it didn't reach his eyes the way it used to. He still said the right words. You look beautiful. I missed you. But they sounded practiced, hollow, like lines from a script he no longer believed in. At night, he kissed my forehead instead of my lips, a gesture so gentle it almost hurt. I told myself he was just tired, that we were both adjusting. But deep down, something in me knew. This wasn't distance from travel. This was distance from love. Is everything okay? I asked one evening as we sat on the couch. He'd been scrolling on his phone for the past 10 minutes, barely glancing at me. I'm tired, he said, not looking up. Long day. I know you've been busy, I said softly. But you've been distant. Is it me? He gave a half smile, like I was imagining it. No, Em. You're just exhausted from your trip. Everything's fine. But everything wasn't fine. Even the simplest gestures felt different. He no longer lingered in the kitchen when I cooked. He no longer kissed me on the stairs. At night, he said he had headaches, or needed to finish work, or just wanted to sleep. I tried to reason with myself. Maybe it was stress. Maybe he was worried about the wedding. Maybe he needed space. But deep down, a cold dread had started to coil in my chest. Something in his eyes, the way he looked at me without really seeing me, told me I wasn't the only one he was thinking about. And Kylie? Her presence loomed over every interaction. She moved around the house as if she owned it, and Oliver followed her lead, nodding, agreeing. The warmth and intimacy we once shared were replaced with distance and politeness. I missed him. I missed us. And for the first time, I started to feel like maybe I wasn't enough. I needed a break from the quiet tension at home, so I called Christina, my old friend and wedding organizer. She had helped me with countless small details before I left for my trip, and I trusted her completely. We met at a small cafe not far from our house. She hugged me tightly. Emma, finally, you're back. How's everything? I hesitated, then sighed. Honestly, strange. I feel like I'm just visiting my own wedding. Christina frowned. What do you mean? I explained the little things I had noticed. The dress, the flowers, the decorations. And Oliver, he's distant. I can't explain it, but something feels off. Christina's eyes softened. Oh, Em, she said quietly. You need to hear this. Oliver and Kylie, they didn't want my help anymore. They've been planning almost everything themselves. I blinked, trying to process her words. They, what? On their own? Yes, Christina said gently. They've taken control of nearly everything. Your favorite band was replaced, the flower arrangements changed, even the seating plan was adjusted without you. They didn't need me anymore. They wanted it their way, and they've been doing it behind your back. I felt my chest tighten. Why would he let her do this? Christina shrugged, her expression sad. I don't know, Em, but it's clear they didn't want you involved. You're Excluded from your own wedding." I sat back, stunned. A part of me wanted to scream, to storm home and take control, but another part, the part I didn't want to admit, felt something else. Betrayal. The house I returned to, the life I thought I was coming home to, it wasn't mine anymore. And for the first time, I realized this wasn't just about flowers or decorations. This was about everything. After Christina told me about the band being replaced, my stomach sank. I couldn't believe it. The one thing I had carefully chosen, the detail that felt truly mine, had been changed without a word. I confronted Oliver as soon as I saw him, my voice trembling between anger and disbelief. "Oliver, why did you cancel them? I picked that band." He looked up from his phone, his expression calm, almost too calm. "Kylie said they were boring. She thought you'd enjoy something more lively." "Why did you listen to her?" I asked, my hands gripping the counter so tightly my knuckles turned white. He hesitated. His eyes flicked away. I just thought you'd be okay with it." I felt my chest tighten, a mix of rage and hurt twisting inside me. Without thinking, I grabbed my phone and called Kylie. "Hello, Em?" she said, her voice light, almost teasing. "What's up?" You told him to cancel the band," I snapped. There was a pause, then a laugh. "Oh, Emma, you're so serious, so boring. Oliver will get tired of your seriousness soon. You should just relax and let us handle things. You're lucky we even let you have a business trip." I hung up, shaking. My hands were still trembling. My sister had been orchestrating all of this behind my back. And Oliver, my fiancé, had let her. I sank onto the couch, feeling a strange mix of disbelief and betrayal. My wedding, the one I had dreamed about for years, the one I had worked so hard to plan even from a distance, was slipping out of my hands. And Kylie? She wasn't just interfering. She was taking it over. I thought those days were behind us, the constant jealousy, the fights that had marked our childhood. But seeing her now, so confident and controlling, I realized it had never really gone away. She had always resented me. My grades, the way our parents looked at me with pride, the opportunities I seemed to have effortlessly. As children, we had clashed endlessly. And now, years later, that old rivalry had resurfaced in the most painful way, in what was supposed to be the happiest time of my life. I didn't know how much longer I could pretend everything was okay. 3 days before the wedding, I couldn't sleep. My mind raced, spinning through every little detail that had gone wrong. The flowers, the dress, the band, and then Oliver. He hadn't touched me in days. Every night he claimed headaches or exhaustion, retreating to the bedroom or disappearing into work. I tried to tell myself it was stress, that he was worried about the wedding, that everything would be fine once the big day arrived. But deep down, I knew it wasn't just that. One morning, I finally snapped. "Oliver, what's going on?" I asked, my voice shaking. "You've been distant. You barely look at me, barely touch me. Is it something I did?" He looked at me with that calm, distant gaze, and my heart sank. "Nothing's wrong, Emma. You just don't understand. You only think about yourself, like Kylie said." I froze. My blood ran cold. "Excuse me?" "You heard me," he said, his voice flat. "You're self-centered. You never see things from anyone else's perspective." I felt like the floor had dropped beneath me. How could you discuss me like that with her? How dare you?" He didn't answer. Instead, he turned and left, slamming the door behind him. My calls went unanswered all day. His phone went straight to voicemail. And Kylie? She didn't answer either. I sank onto the sofa, heart pounding, staring at the pale yellow roses that had once seemed so innocent. I couldn't believe it. They were talking about me. Together. Behind my back. And in that moment, I realized the world I had returned to wasn't the one I had left. Something had changed while I was gone. Something I wasn't ready to face. 2 days before the wedding, sleep had abandoned me completely. I felt like I was walking through a fog, my chest heavy with dread. Oliver still hadn't spoken to me properly, and Kylie's constant, confident presence only made the tension thicker. Something inside me snapped that night. I needed answers. I needed to know why. Oliver was asleep on the sofa, an open book in his lap, breathing softly. I stared at him for a long moment, heart hammering. Then, almost without thinking, I picked up his laptop from the coffee table. Oliver had always been forgetful, scribbling passwords and notes in his little notebook, and sure enough, I found the new password written there in his messy handwriting. My fingers shook as I typed it in. And there it was. Messages. Hundreds of them, stacked one after another like a timeline of secrets. Photos of them together, laughing too closely, leaning into each other in ways that made my chest ache. Heart emojis scattered across the screen, little digital declarations I wasn't supposed to see. Hours-long calls, their voices filled with laughter and familiarity, so intimate that it felt like a punch in my gut. Dates and times blinked at me, exact nights I had stayed up late, calling him from my hotel room, only to hear him say he missed me. And all the while he was sharing those moments with her instead. I scrolled, frozen, as the truth crashed over me. Flirting, secret calls, laughter I wasn't part of, plans made behind my back. My hands were shaking so badly that I couldn't even think clearly. I carefully closed the laptop and put it back exactly where I had taken it from the coffee table, as if nothing had happened. My chest felt hollow, as if someone had ripped out the air itself. My vision blurred with tears that seemed endless. I sank onto the sofa, curling into myself, the world spinning and tilting around me. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. My fiancé, my sister, together. Every laugh, every heart emoji, every message replayed in my mind like a cruel movie I couldn't pause. I cried until my body went limp, until the exhaustion of months of stress and betrayal crushed me into numbness. Eventually, I curled up there on the sofa, pretending to be asleep in a world that no longer made sense. A world I thought I knew, now completely foreign. Morning came slowly, the sunlight slipping through the curtains like it belonged to someone else. I woke on the sofa, stiff and sore, the laptop still open beside me. My eyes burned, but I couldn't bring myself to look at Oliver. He walked into the living room, humming softly, carrying 2 mugs of coffee. "Good morning, my bride," he said with that same effortless charm, like the world hadn't shifted beneath my feet overnight. I swallowed, keeping my face calm, pretending to be oblivious. "Morning?" I said softly, taking the mug he offered. My hands trembled slightly, but I steadied them. He sat across from me, sipping his coffee as if nothing had changed, casually flipping through the morning paper. His voice was calm, almost cheerful, chatting about trivial things, the weather, the flowers, the seating arrangements, pretending everything was perfectly normal. He looked me in the eyes as he spoke, smiling gently, and I froze. How could someone I loved, someone I had trusted completely, lie so convincingly? How could he look at me, really look at me, and act like nothing had happened while my entire world had just crumbled? I didn't understand it. I couldn't understand how I had ever been in love with someone capable of such deceit. Every instinct in me screamed that he was a stranger now, wearing the mask of the man I thought I knew. My heart ached with disbelief and a quiet, burning rage that I hadn't expected to feel this early in the morning. I felt hollow, like a ghost inhabiting my own life. Every word he spoke, every smile he gave felt like a knife twisting in my chest. I wanted to scream, to confront him, to demand the truth, but I didn't. I couldn't. Instead, I kept my silence, watching him. My mind replayed the messages, the photos, the secret calls. The betrayal wasn't just in the night. It had been building for weeks, while I had been away, while I had been trusting him, believing in us. And my mother? I couldn't stop thinking about her strange behavior since I returned. Her unease, her sudden questions, her glances that lingered too long. I had a feeling she knew more than she let on. I sipped my coffee, the bitter warmth grounding me. I would need her soon. I needed someone who wasn't pretending, someone I could trust. But for now, I just sat there, pretending everything was okay. I couldn't keep pretending any longer. I needed answers, and I needed them from someone who might still care. I went to Mom's house that afternoon. The familiar scent of vanilla and cinnamon greeted me, but it did nothing to calm the storm in my chest. Mom was sitting at the kitchen table, her hands folded tightly in front of her. She looked up as I walked in. "Emma," she began softly, her voice trembling. I didn't want you to find out like this." My heart skipped. "Mom, tell me the truth. Now, please." She looked away, biting her lip. I didn't know how to. I couldn't choose between you two. Between me and Kylie." My chest tightened. "What do you mean?" Tears welled in her eyes. Oliver and Kylie, they became close while working on the wedding together. I found them. Together." She took a shuddering breath, her hands trembling in her lap. "I didn't know how to tell you. Kylie would never forgive me, and Her voice broke completely. "I feel responsible for everything. For her life, for the choices she's made. Your father and we always loved you more. We told Kylie to be like you, to work harder, to do better, and now I see how much that hurt her. I pushed her, and she ended up like this. And I failed her as a mother." She buried her face in her hands, sobbing softly, as if confessing a crime. "I wanted to protect both of you, and I only made things worse. Please, Emma, forgive me." I felt like the ground had dropped beneath me, my chest tightening so much it was hard to breathe. Heat surged to my face, a mix of anger and disbelief that made my hands tremble. "Mom, I always tried to support you and Dad. I tried to do everything right. Why are you being so cruel? How could you let this happen?" My voice wavered, breaking at the edges. It was as if all the years of trust, love, and devotion I had poured into our family were suddenly worthless. My heart ached not just for myself, but for the mother I thought I knew. The one I had always believed would protect me no matter what. And now, I didn't recognize her. Mom shook her head, sobbing softly. I didn't want to hurt you. I thought maybe you wouldn't find out in time. Maybe it wouldn't matter. I'm so sorry, Emma. Please forgive me." I took a deep breath, forcing myself to calm down. Even though my world was collapsing, my fiancé, my sister, the life I thought I had, my mother was still my mother. And she was crying, broken, afraid. I sat beside her, placing a hand on hers. "Mom, I forgive you. But this is all too much." She leaned into me and I held her, feeling the weight of betrayal and love intertwined. My heart ached for all of us, for the mother who had tried to protect both daughters, for Kylie's manipulations, and for the man I thought I could trust. I realized then that even in the midst of heartbreak, I needed to hold on to at least one truth. My mother still loved me, and for now, that had to be enough. I returned home that afternoon, the weight of the last few days pressing down on me like a storm cloud. I needed to see them, to feel the truth for myself. When I opened the door, I froze for a second. There they were, Oliver and Kylie leaning over the laptop, whispering and laughing softly, pretending to finalize wedding details. Their smiles were too bright, their movements a little too careful, as if they were performing for an audience that didn't exist. Kylie's hand brushed his shoulder as she pointed at the screen, and Oliver nodded, his expression open and relaxed. But I could see the way he glanced at her when he thought I wasn't looking. Their laughter died instantly when they saw me, replaced by startled, guilty expressions. For a moment, they just stared, caught between pretending and fear. I stepped inside slowly, my heels clicking against the floor. I let my eyes roam over them, taking in every detail, the closeness, the familiarity, the way they had made a world together without me in it. And then, In a voice calm and deceptively light, I said, "You two should get married. You've already done everything else together." Kylie's face paled, her lips parting in shock. Oliver stammered, looking for words, but I held their gaze steadily, letting the weight of my presence press down without raising my voice. I let a small, ironic smile play on my lips. "Relax, I'm joking," I added, tilting my head. Just thought I'd point it out. The room felt smaller, heavier. I watched them squirm under my gaze, realizing that pretending I didn't know everything was powerful. Later, I called Mom. "I'm not going to cancel the wedding," I said firmly, though my voice was steady. She hesitated, then sighed. "Emma, are you sure?" "I'm sure," I said, feeling a strange mix of anger, clarity, and determination. I can't let them control me. Not anymore. For the first time in days, I felt a spark of control, like I was finally reclaiming a small piece of the life that had been slipping away. The morning of the wedding felt unreal, like I was watching someone else's life unfold from a distance. The house buzzed with voices, laughter, music. My mother moved between rooms, giving orders she didn't believe in. The photographers clicked, the florists arranged, the guests started arriving, all for a wedding that didn't belong to me anymore. Everything was beautiful. But it wasn't mine. The flowers were yellow roses, not the white lilies and blush peonies I'd chosen. The music was loud and modern, not the gentle jazz I'd dreamed of. Even the color of the napkins, lilac instead of ivory, screamed Kylie. I stood at the window, watching her outside, greeting guests in her pale pink dress. Her movements were restless, her smile too bright, her hands trembling slightly. She was nervous. Good. For a moment, I almost pitied her. Almost. I took one last look around the room that was supposed to be mine. The dressing room filled with mirrors, racks of dresses, and the flowers that weren't what I had chosen. Every detail screamed Kylie's taste, every corner a reminder that this space, this moment, had been taken from me. Then I picked up my car keys, my phone, and my calmest smile. Without another word, I stepped out of the dressing room, leaving behind the chaos and walking into the freedom I hadn't realized I was craving. No tears, no drama, just freedom. I walked out quietly, unnoticed, and got into the car. The engine hummed softly as I drove away, past the noise, past the laughter, past everything that once defined me. At the first red light, I took out my phone and typed a short message to Kylie. "I have a gift for you in the wardrobe." She'd understand what it meant, the wedding dress hanging inside, the one I was supposed to wear. She could have it. She could have him. Then I opened the shared guest list on my laptop and sent a message to everyone attending. "The wedding is canceled. The groom belongs to my sister now." Below, I attached a link, a small website I'd built last night, containing screenshots of messages, photos, and videos that told the real love story between Oliver and Kylie. No explanations, no captions, just the truth. I didn't text Oliver, I didn't call him. That person, the man I had loved and trusted, no longer existed to me. Every word, every touch, every promise now felt like a lie. The man in front of me for months, the one I had planned a life with, had betrayed me in the most intimate way possible. There was nothing left to say, no conversation that could repair the fracture, no apology that could undo the months of deceit. For now, I needed silence, distance, and the freedom to reclaim myself without him in my world. As the car rolled farther from the house, I felt something inside me loosen, like a knot that had been there for years finally untied. For the first time in months, maybe in years, I breathed easily. It's been 3 weeks since the wedding that never happened. I'm sitting at a small cafe by the sea, the kind of place where no one knows your name, and the only sound is waves brushing against the rocks. The mornings here smell like salt and coffee, and for the first time in a long time, I wake up without fear of what the day might bring. Sometimes I still see their faces when I close my eyes. Oliver's smile, Kylie's nervous laugh, my mother's silence. But the images are losing their sharpness. They're fading, like old photographs left in the sun. I thought betrayal would destroy me. Instead, it stripped me bare, and strangely, that feels like freedom. I no longer wear the ring. I no longer scroll through old messages. I don't check who's seen my posts or what people are saying. There's peace in letting go. The waitress brings my usual cappuccino and smiles. She doesn't know who I am or what I've lost, and that's the beauty of it. Here, I'm just Emma,